The following is transcribed.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. It's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, with Superman out of the Daily Planet office, something so amazing happens to cub reporter Jimmy Olsen that he calls on copyboy Beanie Martin to vouch for his sanity.
Pinch me, will you, Beanie?
Pinch you?
Yeah, go on. Pinch my arm hard.
But what for, Jim?
Never mind. It's important.
Okay. Glad to oblige.
Ow! Yep. I'm awake, all right.
Sure you are.
And that means I didn't dream it. No,
Look, what's eating you, Jim?
You wouldn't believe it, Beanie. Nobody would.
Huh?
I saw it with my own eyes, and I heard it with my own ears. But I still can't believe it. It's impossible.
And now, the adventures of Superman. For almost a full day, it has been unusually calm at the Metropolis Daily Planet. But as we shall see, it has been the calm which precedes a storm. Superman, in his guise of reporter Clark Kent, has left his office, and cub reporter Jimmy Olsen is tilted back in Kent's chair, his feet on the desk, when the door opens and Beanie Martin, the copy boy, appears.
Hello, Beanie. What can I do for you, young man?
Oh, give me that big shot routine, Jim Olsen. And you better get your feet off Mr. Kent's desk before he comes in here and catches you.
Mr. Kent back?
Boy, did you get your feet down in a hurry.
Oh.
Afraid of getting caught in here, huh?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, Mr. Kent asked me to wait here till he got back. He's expecting an important phone call. Now, what was it you wanted to see me about?
I don't want to see you about nothing. A guy named Abdul does.
Abdul? Who's he?
Search me. He looks as if he's one of them Rajas or Pashas or something.
What?
And is he a character? He's got a long curly beard and a towel wrapped around his head, and he's wearing earrings.
Jeepers. What does he want to see me about?
Well, I asked him, but he wouldn't tell me. He said it was personal and very important.
Gee, maybe he's got a big story for me.
For you?
Of course. Show him in, Beanie.
Okay, but listen, Jim. I saw a guy like that in a movie once. He turned out to be a murderer. He had a knife hidden in the towel on his head.
Oh, why don't you grow up, Beanie? Go on, show Mr. Abdul in.
Okay, but remember, I warned you.
Take a chair, Mr. Abdul.
Thank you, Sahib. You are James Olsen, are you not?
That's right. What can I do for you?
I bear a message for you, Sahib, and a great gift from my master.
Huh? A great gift?
Yes, my master wishes me to say that he will remain forever grateful to you, even into the hereafter. And he apologizes that he has not until now been able to make a suitable display of his gratitude. He begs that you will forgive him.
Look, I don't get this. Who is this master you're talking about, and what's he grateful to me for?
My master, Sahib, is the great Sheikh Faisal ibn Faisal.
Who?
Surely you remember, Sahib, how once in the desert, far from Morocco, when my master was about to be put to death by the Nazi band of Von Blumberg, you saved his life.
Oh, yeah, now I remember him. Oh, but look, you've got it all wrong. I didn't save the Sheik's life. Superman did.
My master said nothing of one called Superman.
Well, Superman did it, though. I happened to be with him.
Please, Sahib, such modesty is seemly in a young gentleman of your character. But my master feels himself indebted to you and to no other.
But listen,
And so I have come to you with his message of gratitude and esteem. And with this great gift.
Gee whiz.
This gold key will unlock the box I set on your desk. Open it, please.
Oh, but look, Mr. Abdul, I can't accept it.
You would insult my noble master.
Well, no, of course not. But...
Then open the box, pray, and accept your gift.
Well, what's in the box?
That for which the greatest king would gladly give his entire kingdom to possess, but which is now yours alone.
Golly, what is it?
Open the box, and you will see.
Well, okay, I guess there's no harm in looking. What? Wait, it's just a little statue. A little man with tiny horns on his head and the body of a sheep.
That is a ram, Sahib, not a sheep.
Oh, yeah, a ram. It's cute, isn't it?
You believe it to be a worthless trifle, is that not so?
No, you got me wrong, Abdul. This is grand, really.
What if I told you the figure you hold in your hand can bring you all the gold you desire?
Huh?
That you need only speak to it as I shall instruct, and it will grant your dearest wish.
My dearest wish?
Not once, but as many times as you ask.
Oh, look, Abdul, I don't know who put you up to this gag on me, but you can tell him it worked swell. I really thought there was going to be something in the box, but now...
But, Sahib, hear me. I speak truth.
Okay, joke's over, brother, so skip the corny accent and forget it, huh?
Your words are strange, but your manner is clear. I can see you do not believe me.
That's the general idea.
Will you do my noble master the courtesy to make a test of Shushaya, Sahib?
Give me that again.
Make a single test of the genie Shushaya. Judge then whether I have come thousands of miles simply to make a stupid jest.
Test him, huh? Okay, Shushaya, I wish for $1 million. Come across with it, pronto.
You do not understand, Sahib Olsen. Shushaya will help you to help yourself. In other words, he will create the opportunities for you to capitalize upon.
Oh, you mean if I wish for money, he'll give me a printing press, huh?
No.
Oh.
How can I explain? Yes. Tell me, what do you wish to be more than anything else in the world?
You know, Abdul, you put on a good act, so I'll play along with you for the laughs. What do I want to be?
Yes.
Well, that's easy. The greatest reporter in the country. The guy who digs up stories no other reporter can, not even Mr. Kent.
A great reporter. Stories. Yes, I am quite sure Shushaya will help you in that.
Oh, he'll cooperate, huh?
I am sure he will. Now hear me. At precisely 6 o'clock, and on any other day at the same hour, you need only sit here where you sit now, where Shushaya has come into your hands. Make then such a request as we have discussed, and he will grant it.
Okay, pal, and thanks a lot. Drop in again sometime.
Please, Sahib Olsen, you must believe I speak truth. I implore you, Sahib, only to make the test with Shushaya at 6 o'clock today. I ask no more for my master.
Okay.
Very well. I leave now with your gracious permission.
Yeah, so long.
Only one thing more must you remember. Discuss this with no one. Now, farewell, Sahib. Farewell.
How do you like that guy, expecting me to fall for a gag like that? Funny, though. I kind of felt as if he did mean it. 6 o'clock. My watch is a little slow. Well, Shushaya, it's 6 p.m. Monday. Time for you to do your stuff. Well, I'm waiting, kiddo. What's holding you up? I wonder who put that guy up to this gag. Slane, maybe, or Tony Sloan? No, I don't think that... What? Hey, this genie's shaking like crazy. What goes on here?
Amazed, Jimmy Olsen stares at the little figure of the genie on Clark Kent's desk, which suddenly, as the hour of 6 struck, began shaking as if it were alive. What can this mean? We'll be back in a moment for the startling climax of today's episode. So keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. Alone in Clark Kent's office with the little figure of the genie which his strange visitor had called Shushaya, Jimmy examined it closely, but could find no trace of a mechanism which would account for its movement.
That's funny. What made it shake like that? Just as the clock struck 6, too. Well, that's when Abdul said... Oh, what am I talking about? If he thinks I'm going to fall for this baloney...
What is your wish, Master?
Huh? Who said that?
What is your wish, Master?
Jeepers. There's nobody here except me and this little genie. Did it... Could it...
State your wish, Master, and it will be granted.
Even lizards. It talks.
Eyes fairly popping from his head, Jimmy Olsen stares incredulously at the tiny figure of the genie on Clark Kent's desk, which has apparently spoken to him, requesting his wish. Well, a great many things, amazing things, happen from now on, fellows and girls. So be sure to listen tomorrow and every day as Jimmy, Superman, and their friends encounter experiences such as they have never had before in The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater. Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. It's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, alone in Clark Kent's office, cub reporter Jimmy Olsen cannot believe his ears as a tiny bronze figure called Shushaya apparently speaks to him.
What is your wish, Master?
Sleeping lizards. The genie talked. Oh, no, it can't be. I must be dreaming.
State your wish, Master, and it shall be granted.
It is talking. It wants me to make a wish, just like Abdul said. I'm dreaming, all right, but what can I lose if I... Listen, Shushaya, I want a big newspaper scoop. A big scoop all my own, see?
I will grant your wish, Master.
Please.
I will make you the greatest newspaper reporter in the world. Listen to me, and I shall tell you what to do to make your wish come true.
And now, the adventures of Superman. When a strange man who called himself Abdul presented cub reporter Jimmy Olsen with a small bronze figure which he identified as a genie and said that it would grant Jimmy's every wish, the cub reporter thought Abdul was playing a joke on him. But promptly on the stroke of 6, after Abdul had left Jimmy alone in Clark Kent's office, the genie began to rock violently from side to side, and then apparently spoke to him. Greatly startled, Jimmy examined the tiny bronze figure carefully, but he could find no mechanism to account for its movement or for the voice. And then the genie seemed to speak again.
State your wish, Master Olsen, and it shall be granted.
Telling himself that he was dreaming, yet intrigued, Jimmy told the little figure of his dearest wish to uncover big stories, scoops, and become a famous newspaper reporter. And in reply, the mysterious voice said,
Listen to me now, and do exactly as I say.
A short while later, Superman, in his guise of reporter Clark Kent, entered the now almost deserted city room of the Metropolis Daily Planet. Finding his office empty, he calls to Beanie Martin, the copy boy.
Beanie! Hey, Beanie!
Yeah, Mr. Kent?
Where's Jim?
Well, he just rushed out of here a few minutes ago like his shirt tails were on fire.
Where do you suppose he could have gone?
Search me.
Supposed to wait in my office till I got back because he and I were going to have dinner and go to the ball game tonight.
Ball game?
Uh-huh.
Well, gee, if Jim don't come back in time, will you take me with you, Mr. Kent? Will you, please?
Oh, certainly. If I can get another ticket, I'll take you both, Beanie. I'm sure Jim will be back right away.
Well, I'm not so sure.
What do you mean?
Well, it was right after this Abdul character left.
Who?
Abdul. Golly, you should have seen him, Mr. Kent. He had a long curly beard and a towel wrapped around his head, and he was wearing earrings, like one of them Egyptian Rajas.
Oh, what about him?
He said he wanted to see Jim.
What about?
He wouldn't tell me. He said it was personal and very important. He had a little carved box.
Come on, get to the point, Beanie. What happened?
Well, Jim said for me to show this character into your office.
Yes.
And he was in there for a little while, and then a few minutes after he came out, Jim came tearing out to the city room. He looked excited and pale, and his eyes was glassy-like. And he said,
Pinch me, will you, Beanie?
huh?
Go on, pinch my arm, hard.
What's the idea, Jim?
Never mind, just do as I say. Go on.
Okay, glad to oblige.
Ow! I'm awake, all right. I didn't dream
You
it.
didn't dream what?
Never mind. Look, Beanie, do I seem irrational?
Huh?
Irrational, you know, on the beam, okay in the head.
Well, sure, I guess so. But you're awful pale, and you're acting kind of funny, but... Listen, Jim, what's this all
You
about?
wouldn't believe me if I told you, Beanie.
Sure I would. Tell me.
No, you wouldn't. Nobody would. I saw it with my own eyes, and I heard it with my own ears, but I can hardly believe it. Well, it's impossible.
What are you talking about, Jim? Listen.
But I did see it, and I did hear it. I know I did. And even if there's nothing in it, and there can't be, I've got to follow it up and make sure. I just have to. So long, Beanie. I'll see you later.
He left you then, Beanie?
Mm-hmm. I called after him, but he didn't answer me. Just kept on going. And what I mean, he was going.
That's strange.
Ain't it, though? At first, after I thought it over, I figured Jim was clowning. Taking me for a ride, you know.
Yeah, could be.
Well, yeah, except when I think of how he looked. His eyes so glassy and his voice so cracked and kind of scared. Well, I'm not so sure he was clowning, Mr. Kent.
Oh, he must have been. Nothing he said to you makes sense.
I know,
It looks to me as if he was building up an act for you and me, too. Sure, he knew I'd be back by this time, and you'd tell me what happened, and we'd knock ourselves out trying to figure it out, and then he'd give us the horse laugh.
Gee, I hope you're right, Mr. Kent.
I think I am, Beanie. Jim will probably walk in pretty soon, innocent as you please, and all set to give us a big raspberry. So, just relax.
Pretending more confidence than he feels, Clark Kent enters his own office where he tries to busy himself with some papers on his desk. But he keeps glancing at the clock. And finally, he brushes the papers aside and rises to pace the floor anxiously. Meanwhile, only a few blocks away from the Daily Planet building, but deep underground, Jimmy Olsen is picking his way through a pitch-black cylindrical tunnel through which the sewer lines of Metropolis run to the river. Using his fountain pen flashlight to push a thin ray of light through the deep gloom, Jimmy inches his way along a narrow catwalk built into the side of huge sewer pipes. Beside him, the tile walls are damp and clammy to the touch, and an occasional rat scampers past, brushing his legs. At intervals beyond one wall of the tunnel, a subway train thunders through an adjacent tunnel, whirled with a dull, clattering rumble. Straining his eyes through the Stygian blackness, the cub reporter picks his way cautiously, tensely, guided only by the small ray of his flashlight.
Something tells me I'm the world's #1 dope for risking my neck down here. That little statue couldn't have talked. Only I heard it. It told me to come down here and I'd find a terrific scoop. What's that? Oh, subway train. Runs right outside this tunnel, I guess. Golly, I must have walked a quarter of a mile and I haven't seen any big story yet. Maybe I better go back. I had to see for myself there was nothing in it, so... Well, now I found out. I just hope Mr. Kent and Mr. White never hear about this. They'll never let me forget it. Huh? Wait, that sounds like the genie's voice. Up ahead someplace. Maybe I'd better keep going then.
heart pounding in his ribs, Jimmy Olsen resumes his tortuous progress along the black sewer tunnel, guided by what seems to be the voice of the genie. What will happen now? There's a startling surprise ahead for Jimmy and for you. So keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. Holding his fountain pen flashlight high, Jimmy Olsen is picking his cautious way through a black tunnel beneath the streets of Metropolis, through which the great sewer pipes of the city run to the river. Then, echoing from somewhere ahead in the darkness, he hears what seems to be the voice of a genie, which has directed him here with the promise of a sensational newspaper story.
This way, Master Olsen. This way. That's the genie's voice, all right. Or is it? Gosh, I don't know what to think. It's so crazy. What's that? Oh, just a rat. Jeepers. I wish I'd get to that story, if there is a story. I don't like it down here much. Wait, what's that sound? Thunder? Whatever it is, I don't like it. It may be...
Shouting an alarm as a terrific explosion sounds in the sewer tunnel, Jimmy sees a sudden violent upheaval of rock and earth in the beam of his flashlight. And then, tripping as he turns, the cub reporter falls on his face. What has happened in the sewer tunnel to Jimmy Olsen, who, despite his better sense, was following what appeared to be the voice of a genie, a tiny bronze figure of a creature, half man and half ram? We'll know tomorrow, gang, so whatever you do, don't miss tomorrow's exciting episode when Superman goes into action. Be sure to tune in, same time, same station, for Chapter 3 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, in his guise of Clark Kent, Superman is in his office at the Daily Planet when a violent explosion nearby sends him leaping to the window.
Great Scott! That explosion was in the main sewer tunnel. I'd better get out of these clothes. This is a job for Superman. Uh-oh. I can see the water pouring into the subway tube. It'll wash out the tracks. I'd better work fast. There we are. Now, up, and away!
And now, the adventures of Superman.
A bearded man wearing a turban and earrings called on Jimmy Olsen, cub reporter for the Metropolis Daily Planet, and giving his name as Abdul, said that his master, a great sheik, had sent him to Jimmy with a gift because the reporter had once done him an important service. The gift turned out to be a bronze figure of a genie, half man and half ram, which Abdul said had the power to grant Jimmy's wishes. After the strange man had left, Jimmy, laughingly addressing the genie, wished for a great newspaper scoop, then was startled to hear a voice which instructed him to enter the main sewer tunnel under the street, where he would find a big story. Doubting his senses, Jimmy nevertheless did as he was told, and he was making his way through the black tunnel, guided by the voice of the genie, when suddenly there was a terrific explosion just ahead of him. Rock and earth flew skyward, burying Jimmy and blasting a hole in the subway tube alongside, into which tons of water began pouring from the wrecked sewer pipe. But Clark Kent, in his office at the Daily Planet nearby, heard the explosion, took in the catastrophe at a glance, and swiftly resuming his true identity of Superman, streaked to the scene.
Up, and away!
Rocketing down through the hole blasted in the street, the Man of Steel sees that the young reporter is trapped under a pile of debris. And with one great swing of his arm, he brushes the rocks and earth aside.
Great Scott. Jim, are you... Oh, he's all right. Just seems to be stunned. Well, I'll just make him comfortable here while I close the block in this sewer main before the water washes out the tracks in the subway tube.
Straining his great muscles, Superman constructs a dam against the torn side of the gashed pipe and slows the mighty stream of water to a trickle. Then, hearing the sirens and bells of approaching fire and emergency crews, he makes a quick examination of the scene and, gathering Jimmy into his arms, leaps up through the hole in the street and into the sky. A few minutes later, in the back room of a nearby drugstore, Jimmy is revived. And while Superman stands by, Inspector Henderson, together with Perry White, editor of the Daily Planet and mayor of Metropolis, hurls questions at the boy reporter.
Come on, Jim, come on. Tell us everything you know about that explosion.
Well, you see, Mr. White...
What were you doing in the sewer tunnel, Olsen?
Well, it was like this, Inspector. You see,
Oh, quit stalling, Jim. Do you realize the water from the exploded sewer main was pouring into the subway tubes and might have washed out the tracks and caused a terrible accident?
Gosh, I didn't know that.
Worse than that. Another minute and the pressure of the water would have burst the gas mains. Then this whole area of the city could have been blown sky high.
Jeepers. Then Superman must...
Why, of course. Oh, I don't know how to thank you, Superman.
Yeah, you did a wonderful job.
Forget it.
Forget nothing. I want to know what caused that explosion or who. Do you know, Jim?
No, Chief, I don't know.
Oh, you don't, eh?
How come? You were right there when it happened. Now, Olsen, I advise you to tell us all you...
I can't tell you anything, Inspector. Honest, all I know is...
Is what?
You're on a spot, Jim. Unless you tell all you know, you'll be suspected of being personally involved in what happened.
That's right.
Honest, Superman, all I know is that I got a tip that I'd find a big newspaper scoop if I went into the sewer tunnel and... Leaping lizard.
Huh?
Now what?
I did get a scoop, a terrific scoop, and what a headline. Plot to blow up sewer tunnel and subway tube. Superman averts terrible disaster. Let me at that telephone.
Now, look, put down that phone, Olsen.
Oh, boy, this is page 1.
Put down that phone, I
Let him
said.
alone, Inspector. He has a legitimate scoop, and the public has a right to read all about it.
What, Mr. Mayor, just because you're editor of the Planet
Take it
doesn't...
easy, Inspector. Take it
give me
easy.
the city desk.
We'll resume
Hurry.
this inquiry at my office.
Oh,
and I promise
boy.
you, we'll get to the bottom of it, even if Jim has to go to jail.
Daily Planet Extra, Superman saves city from disaster. Planet reporter uncovers plot to blow up subway. Extra.
Now, are we all here? Inspector Henderson, where's Superman?
Well, he said he'd join us soon, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Now, Jim.
Just call me Scoops, Chief. Scoops Olsen, the page 1 kid.
Oh, stop taking bows, young man.
Huh?
You're not out of the woods yet, you know. Not by a long shot.
Oh, what do you mean?
He means we still want to know what you were doing in the sewer tunnel at the time of the explosion.
Exactly.
I told you. I got a tip that I'd find a scoop there.
Yeah? Well, who gave you the tip?
I can't tell you, Inspector.
You'd better tell us.
I'm sorry. I can't tell you.
Now, look here, Jim.
You're under suspicion, Olsen. And unless you tell us what you know, I'll see that a warrant is issued for your arrest.
Arrest?
Right. And I won't do a thing to help you. So if you're shielding anyone...
No, it's not that, Mr. White. It's just that...
Just what?
Well, I don't know a thing about the explosion. I swear I don't. And I can't tell you where I got the tip.
Okay, then, Jim.
It's my duty as mayor of Metropolis to order your arrest.
His face grim, Perry White, who feels like a father to Jimmy Olsen, orders the cub reporter's arrest. And Jimmy, unwilling to tell the fantastic story of the genie, turns pale, but keeps his silence. We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode, so keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. In Perry White's office in City Hall, the gray-haired mayor and editor of the Daily Planet has just reluctantly ordered the arrest of Jimmy Olsen. But at that very moment, Superman arrives.
Just a moment, Mr. White. Since you're a newspaper man yourself, you know that a reporter's sources of information are sacred, isn't that right?
Well, yes. But in a situation as important...
Now, wait a minute, Superman. That stuff doesn't go with me.
What?
The way it looks from here, Olsen is involved in that explosion, so you
I'm
better...
not, I tell you.
You're wrong, Inspector. Jim was not involved. As a matter of fact, it's only by a miracle that he wasn't killed in the explosion.
What do you mean?
When your men finish clearing away the debris in the sewer tunnel, Inspector, you'll find a cord, still intact, which had been stretched across the tunnel.
Yeah?
One end is attached to a small, crude lever. And you'll also find fragments of a large tin can.
Tin can?
That's right. It's clear to me that an explosive was in that can, and the string was a trip cord arranged to set off the charge when somebody walked into it.
Now, wait a minute.
Let me finish, gentlemen. The cord was only about 20 feet from where I found Jim. Now, which way were you going, Jim? Up or down the tunnel?
Oh, let's see. Up.
That proves it, then. A few more steps, and Jim would have walked into the cord and been blown to bits.
Oh, no.
So, naturally, he couldn't have been involved in the plot.
No? Then who did set off the charge?
I don't know. Unless, well, it could have been a rat.
A rat?
Yes, there's a dead rat lying across the string, under the debris. That means the string was stretched low, probably at ankle height. So I figure the rat ran into the string and set off the charge, saving Jim's life.
Say, I remember a rat running past me just before the explosion.
Well, what a lucky
So you
break.
see, gentlemen, Jim was not involved in the explosion. I think he was lured into the tunnel by someone who intended to make him the victim of it.
Me? Are you kidding?
Oh, who would want to kill Jim, and why?
Yeah, why?
I don't know. But when you have the answer to that, you've solved the mystery.
I don't think so.
What?
What do you mean?
I mean, I can't explain, but golly, it couldn't be.
While Superman, Perry White, and Inspector Henderson stare at him, words which he doesn't dare utter aloud run in Jim's mind.
Genie said I'd get a big scoop if I went into the tunnel. And I did. He might have sent the rat to save my life, too. But how could that be? I know there are no such things as genies. Only I did hear the voice, and I did get a page one scoop, just like he said I would. Gee whiz. I don't know what to think.
There are thrills and excitement in tomorrow's suspenseful episode, so be sure to listen. Tune in, same time, same station for Chapter 4 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who kills of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, with Superman still unaware of what is going on, cub reporter Jimmy Olsen hears once again from Abdul, the man who presented him with the amazing genie.
Hello, Jim Olsen speaking.
This is Abdul.
Oh, yes.
I see that the genie Shoshaya has granted your first wish.
Boy, I'll say he did.
Then I presume you will ask him to grant another wish today.
Well, I don't know. I've been kind of wondering.
Go on. Ask him and he will grant it, just as he did yesterday. But remember, the hour for communication with Shoshaya is 6 o'clock.
And now, the adventures of Superman. A bearded man who wore a turban and earrings and who called himself Abdul presented a small bronze statuette of a creature half man and half ram to Jimmy Olsen, cub reporter for the Metropolis Daily Planet, saying it would make his wish come true. Later, to Jimmy's amazement, the genie actually appeared to talk. And when the cub reporter wished for a big news scoop, he was told to enter a deep sewer tunnel nearby, and his wish would come true. Jimmy made his way into the tunnel where a terrific explosion occurred, and only the arrival of Superman saved Jimmy's life and prevented a citywide disaster. But Jimmy had his scoop, a page-one story in the Daily Planet signed with his own name. As we continue now, it is the following morning. Superman, in his guise of mild-mannered, bespectacled Clark Kent, is in Lois Lane's office where he is talking with the Daily Planet's girl reporter.
Isn't it wonderful, Clark? I mean, about Jimmy getting that terrific scoop?
No, Lois, I don't think it's wonderful at all.
Oh, now, Clark, don't tell me you're jealous.
Well, nonsense. But if a rat hadn't run into the trip cord and set off the dynamite charge while Jim was still 25 feet away, he would have tripped over the cord and been blown to bits.
Oh, good heavens. He was lucky, wasn't he?
And how? But he can't expect to be as lucky the next time.
The next time? What do you mean?
Well, my hunch is that Jim was deliberately lured into the tunnel by somebody who expected him to stumble over the tripcord and be blown up.
Oh, rubbish. Who would want to do that to Jim?
Well, I can't imagine. But once when I was questioning Jim about who gave him the tip, he started to mention a name and then caught himself. But what I heard sounded like Genie.
Genie?
Yes. Do you know any friend of his named Genie?
No, I don't.
I'm worried, Lois. I'm very much worried.
Why, Clark? It's all over now.
I doubt it. Somebody tried to kill Jim once. He'll try again.
Oh, now, Clark, I think you're imagining things as usual.
I'm not, I tell you.
Hello, colleagues.
Why, hello, Jim. Congratulations. That was a terrific story.
Thanks, Miss Lane. Hi, Mr. Kent.
Morning, Jim.
Did you get a load of that headline? Daily Planet reporter discovers plot and Superman saves city from disaster by James Olsen. Not bad, huh?
Not bad.
Wonderful.
Take it easy, Jim. I'll see you both later. I got some work to do.
Gee, he wasn't very cordial, was he?
Oh, forget it, Jim. Tell me all about your scoop. Tell me about, Genie.
What did you say?
I said tell me all about Genie. You know, the one who tipped you off to that scoop yesterday?
How did you... I mean... What are you talking about?
Uh-oh. So Clark was right.
What do you mean?
He said you started to say that some girl named Jeannie tipped you off to the scoop and then you went mum.
Oh, well, he's wrong. I don't know any girl named Jeannie.
Now, Jim.
I don't, Miss Lane, honest.
Well, then why did you get so fussed just now when I mentioned the name Jeannie?
Who, me? What?
Yes, you can't fool me. Something is bothering you, Jim. Isn't there?
Oh, shucks. Look, Miss Lane. Do you believe there's any such thing as supernatural powers?
Supernatural powers?
Uh-huh. What I mean is, do you think, say a statue of anything could talk?
Oh, whatever makes you ask such a silly question?
It's not silly, honest. Look, if it was a statue of, not really a statue.
Oh, just a minute, Jim. Hello? Just a moment, please. It's for you, Jim. Important.
Oh, thanks. Hello, James Olsen speaking.
Sahib Olsen, this is Abdul.
Oh.
I am happy, my friend, and my master will be happy to know that Shoshaya has granted you your first wish.
Oh, you mean the,
Yes, Shoshaya, the genie.
Oh, yes.
Now Shoshaya is ready to grant your second wish this evening.
This evening?
Of course. Have you forgotten? You are to express your wish to Shoshaya at sundown. at 6 o'clock.
Well, no, but...
And remember, you are to wish in the same place you were last evening.
Oh, yeah, and Mr. Kent's off... I know.
Good. One other thing. Remember, if Shushaya is to grant your wish, it is imperative that you reveal nothing of what transpires between you to others. Do you understand?
Yeah, sure.
Very well then, my young friend. Good luck, and may Shushaya continue to favor you as you deserve.
Thanks. So long, Abdul.
Well, that was rather a strange conversation, Jim, judging by your remarks.
It was?
Yes. Who's Abdul?
Oh, kind of a friend of mine, Miss Lane.
I see. Now, what did you mean before when you asked me about supernatural powers and statues, which weren't really statues being able to talk?
Oh, nothing, Miss Lane. I was just kidding.
Now, don't give me that. You had something on your mind, Jim. Now, come on, out with it.
No, thanks very much, Miss Lane, but I'll settle this myself. This evening.
Warned by the mysterious Abdul not to reveal anything of the genie to others, Jimmy Olsen decides to keep another rendezvous with Shushaya that evening. What will happen? We'll be back in a moment to find out, so keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. All day long at the Daily Planet, Jimmy Olsen has been on tenterhooks, watching Clark Kent come and go. Returning from police headquarters at 4:30, Kent shut himself into his office. And now, watching the long hands of the city room clock move to 5 p.m., to 5:30, and then to 5:45, Jimmy is becoming desperate because Kent is still at his desk, and it is in Kent's office promptly at 6 o'clock that Jimmy has a rendezvous with Shushaya the genie. The time reaches 5:50, then 5:55, and the frantic Jimmy is alternately praying and racking his brains for some means to get Kent out of his office and out of the building. But he can think of nothing. And at 2 minutes before 6 o'clock, he just gives up all hope. When suddenly, Kent's door opens.
Hello, Jim.
Oh.
How come you're still here at this hour?
I'm expecting a message. Are you leaving now, Mr. Kent?
Yes, I'm meeting Inspector Henderson at Mayor White's office. Henderson thinks you may have a clue to that explosion last night.
Oh, well, you better hurry, huh?
Yeah, I'm on my way. Look, if Lois comes in before you leave, tell her where I am, will you, and ask her to wait?
Yeah.
I told her I'd discuss that Sunday feature with her.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell her. You better... Oh, gosh.
What's the matter?
But it's 6 o'clock. You better step on it. Hurry.
Hey, you sound as if you're anxious to get rid of me. Are you?
Oh, me? Where'd you ever get that idea?
From the way you're behaving.
Well, what do you mean?
I'll talk to you about it later. There's no time now. So long.
So long, Mr. Kent.
Waiting tensely until Clark Kent has left the city room, Jimmy jerks open his desk drawer, snatches up the small carved box containing the bronze genie, and races into Kent's office, closing the door behind him. The young reporter sits down at the desk and with trembling hands removes the tiny bronze figure with the horned head of a man and the body of a ram, then sets it in front of him.
Oh, get hold of yourself, Olsen. You know you really don't believe in this stuff. Uh-oh. The genie's rocking, like it did yesterday, just before it started to talk.
What is your wish, Master?
Leaps. It's talking again.
State your wish, Master, and it shall be granted.
His eyes wide, Jimmy Olsen stares in awe at the tiny rocking figure of the genie, and he hears the same voice he heard yesterday promising to grant his wish. Jimmy's intelligence warns him not to believe what he sees or hears, but despite that, he finds himself speaking, uttering his wish.
Come on, Shushaya. Give me a big scoop, like you did yesterday, so I'll get to be a famous reporter like Mr. Kent.
What will happen as Jimmy wishes for the best and Clark Kent fears the worst? We'll find out in tomorrow's thrill-packed episode, fellows and girls, so be sure to listen. Tune in, same time, same station for Chapter 5 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, with Superman out of the office, Shushaya, the tiny bronze genie, seems to speak again to cub reporter Jimmy Olsen.
State your wish, Master Olsen.
Gleeps, it spoke again.
State your wish, Master, and it shall be granted.
I can't believe it, but it worked yesterday, so what have I got to lose? Here goes. I wish for a big story, Shushaya. A scoop like I got yesterday, so I can get to be a famous reporter.
Your wish shall be granted, Master. Drive north down River Road at once. There you will find your story.
And now, the adventures of Superman. Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen was vastly amused when a mysterious man named Abdul, who said he was the servant of a great desert sheik for whom Jimmy had once done a service, presented him with a tiny bronze figure of a genie, a creature half man and half ram, then advised him that the genie, known as Shushaya, had the power to grant its owner's wishes. To Jimmy's amazement, the tiny bronze figure actually seemed to talk, and it told the young reporter to enter a sewer tunnel deep under the streets of Metropolis. There, a terrific explosion almost caused a citywide disaster that would have cost Jimmy his life. But Superman rescued him and prevented the disaster, and Jimmy had his scoop, a page-one story in the Daily Planet. Early the next evening, as instructed by Abdul, Jimmy, despite his better judgment, privately consulted the genie again and wished for another scoop. And once more, the voice apparently coming from the genie told him,
Drive north down River Road at once, and your wish will be granted.
As we continue now, Jimmy has burst into the almost deserted Daily Planet city room, just as Lois Lane, the girl reporter, walks in.
Miss Lane, will you do me a favor?
Why, yes, of course, Jim, if I can. What is it?
Lend me your car, please.
My car?
Uh-huh. I'll be careful of it, honest. Please, will you let me have it?
Well, but you don't have a driver's license, Jim.
I've got a permit, though.
Well, you can only use your permit when a licensed driver is with you. You know that.
Yeah, but... Oh, gosh, what'll I do? I've got to have a car right now.
Why?
Well, you see, I can't tell you.
Well, now, why can't you tell? What goes on?
Well, Oh, shucks, I've got to tell you. I got another tip.
A tip?
Yeah, on another big scoop, just like I got yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. I've got to drive out River Road at once, right now. So, look, Miss Lane, will you let me drive your car? You can come along and well, I'll split my byline with you if
Oh,
you
never
want.
mind the byline, but I'd like to know more about this, Jim. Who gave you the tip and what's the story?
I can't tell you that.
Why not?
Because I'm not sure, and besides... Oh, golly, Miss Lane, we're wasting time.
Who?
Oh, this person said I had to go at once. And if we don't leave right now, we may miss the scoop.
Well, I don't know.
Look, my tip paid off yesterday, didn't it?
Yes, but you almost lost your life, and Clark said the whole thing was a trap to get rid of you.
Oh, where'd Mr. Kent ever get that crazy idea?
Well, I don't know. I don't agree with him myself, but...
Well, then what are we waiting for? Come on.
You don't drive more slowly, Jim. I'll make you stop, and I'll take the wheel.
Well, there's hardly any traffic out here, Miss Lane.
Just the same, stay under the speed limit, will you, until we reach River Road. There are houses around here and factories, and it's dark.
Okay. Taking us an awful long time to get to River Road.
No, we're practically there. As soon as we make the turn around the American aircraft factory just ahead. Hold it, Jim. That's a stop street.
I saw it.
Oh, sorry. Just wanted to make sure.
What the... That sounds like a machine gun.
Good heavens. A man has just been shot.
Huh? Oh, where?
Those men jumping into that car across the street. They ran out of the offices of the aircraft company. Do you see them?
Yeah. Look at those big bags they're carrying.
Yes.
Jeepers, Miss Lane. I'll bet they robbed the aircraft factory. And that was the watchman they shot.
Get out, Jim. We've got to help that poor man.
Wait. There come some people across the street to help him. We better go after those bandits.
No, Jim. They've got guns. We'll call the police.
Let those guys get away? Nothing doing. This must be my scoop, and I'm going after it.
Say, Andy, did you see Miss Lane? I was supposed to
Miss
meet
Lane
her.
left, Mr. Kent, about a half hour ago. She went out with Jim Olsen.
Oh, no, I distinctly told Jim to have Lois wait for me. We've got to put a feature together for the Sunday magazine section. Oh, did they say where they were going?
No, they didn't, but... just a minute, Mr. Kent.
Sure, Andy.
Anderson, city desk. What? Give me that again. Uh-huh. Yeah. Right. I got it.
What's up, Andy?
That was press service. A mob just cracked the safe at the American Aircraft Company and got away with the payroll, $250,000. And not only that, they shot and killed a watchman, and I haven't got a reporter in the shop to send out there. What'll I do, Mr. Kent?
Leave it to me, Andy. I'll be out there in 2 shakes. Stand by for a phone call.
Good gravy, Jim. You're doing 70 miles an hour. Slow down.
Let those bandits get away, Miss Lane?
Look out. They're shooting at us.
Yeah. They must have noticed we were following.
Well, slow down. I don't want to get killed.
Relax. It's hard for them to aim straight at this speed.
Just the same, Jim, you must be crazy taking chances like this. Now stop right now and we'll call the police.
How are we going to call them out on the highway? Besides, nothing can happen to us.
Oh, no. Oh, we can just lose our lives, that's all.
No, we can't. Shushaya's on our side.
Who?
The genie. Oh, just relax, Miss Lane. Nothing can happen to us, I tell you. This is my scoop, and I'm going to follow it through.
Ducking low in her seat as the bandits' bullets ricochet off the hood of their car and whine past their ears, Lois Lane shouts wildly to Jimmy Olsen to stop. But Jimmy, serene in his confidence that the genie Shushaya has led him to this scoop and will protect them, continues his headlong pursuit of the bandits. What will happen? We'll be back in a moment to find out, so keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. At the wheel of Lois Lane's car, with Lois huddled low in the seat beside him, Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen is pursuing the fleeing bandits who stole the aircraft company's payroll and shot the watchman.
You can sit up now, Miss Lane. They stopped shooting at us.
Oh, thank heaven. Jim, now listen to me. You've got to stop.
We've got them now. We've got them.
Got him? What do you mean?
They're coming to the place where they're building the new bridge over the river. They'll have to detour into Eastland. We can get the cops there.
Well, now you're talking sense.
Hey, what the...
Now what?
They didn't stop for the detour. They went right on through.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I don't see any detour sign.
Say, neither do I. I was here last week, though, when I came through with Mr. Kent.
Well, they must have completed the bridge since.
I guess so, but they should have fixed this road before they open it up again.
They certainly should have. Oh, Jim, wait a minute. I don't see the bandit's car.
You'll see it in a minute when we get around that turn. There's a short hill down to the bridge.
Well, slow up, for heaven's sake. This road is jouncing my teeth out.
I can't slow up anymore. There's a couple of crossroads the other side of the bridge, and I'm afraid I'll lose those guys.
Good grief. What was that noise?
Gosh, I don't know.
Jim, slow down for that turn.
Hang on. I want to see what made that noise. It sounded like... Holy mackerel. Look, Miss Lane.
The bandit's car smashed through the gate at the bottom of the hill. Jim, stop. There's no bridge.
I can't stop.
You've got to. There's no bridge. We're going to the river, too.
We're going too fast. I can't stop. Look out, Miss Lane.
Jim!
Unable to bring the speeding car to a stop on the short, steep hill, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane cry out as their car skids and careens through the shattered wooden crossbars
and plunges off the road to the river below, into which the bandit's car has just disappeared. Meanwhile, as the car bearing Jimmy and Lois plummets down toward the deep, dark river, Clark Kent, in his true identity of Superman, has arrived at the American aircraft factory and is talking with a police sergeant.
Which way did the bandit's car go, Sergeant?
I don't know, Superman. I just got here.
Oh?
Somebody said it went north on River Road.
North?
Yeah. I'm going to call headquarters and put out an alarm. Those fellows have a pretty good start.
Not too long a start for me. I'm going after them, Sergeant. Up, up, and away!
Rocketing up into the evening sky, Superman streaks away to the north, on the trail of the bandits. And unknown to him, on the trail of Lois and Jimmy. Superman can travel at the speed of light, but can even he discover the disaster scene in time to rescue Jimmy and Lois? There are thrills and surprises in Monday's exciting episode, fellows and girls, so be sure to listen. Tune in Monday, same time, same station, for Chapter 6 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine. It is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, Superman is unaware that young Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane are pursuing a band of payroll bandits in the girl reporter's car, and are at this moment roaring down a steep hill in the darkness, heading for certain disaster.
Jim, there's no bridge over the river.
Elizabeth.
Stop, Jim. Stop. We're going to the river.
I can't stop, Miss Lane. I can't.
And now, the adventures of Superman. A bronze figure of a tiny creature, half man and half ram, was presented to cub reporter Jimmy Olsen by a mysterious person named Abdul, who said it was a genie and had the power to make Jimmy's wishes come true. To Jimmy's amazement, the figure actually seemed to talk. And when Jimmy wished to become a famous newspaper reporter, the voice of the genie told him to enter a sewer tunnel deep under the streets of Metropolis. There, a terrific explosion occurred, and only the arrival of Superman prevented a citywide disaster and saved Jimmy's life. But the cub reporter had a sensational page-one story, just as the genie had promised. The next day, the genie instructed Jimmy to drive on a certain highway, and Jimmy, who had no car, enlisted the aid of reporter Lois Lane in her car. And driving out to the city limits, they saw a bandit gang shoot the watchman of an aircraft factory and escape with the payroll. The two reporters pursued them, but suddenly at the bottom of a steep hill where a bridge was under construction, the bandit's car suddenly left the road, and unable to stop, Jimmy and Lois plummeted down toward the river. Meanwhile, however, having learned of the payroll robbery, Superman, who masquerades as reporter Clark Kent, followed the bandit's trail. Now, from high in the night sky, he sees Jimmy and Lois's car falling through the air. Down to that car! Down! Streaking downward like a meteor flashing through space, Superman snatches the car bearing Jimmy and Lois just as it is about to crash into the Black River. Then, holding the machine as if it is a child's toy, the Man of Steel leaps upward and finally deposits it lightly as a feather at the crest of the hill.
Jim, Miss Lane.
Oh, Superman.
Oh, boy. Am I glad to see you. thanks a million.
Yes, thanks for saving our lives.
What happened? What are you two doing
We
here?
were chasing some bandits and...
What?
Sleeping lizards, I forgot.
Oh, they're in the river, Superman.
What?
Yeah, they went off the road just before we did.
Oh, yes. Now I see their car. Wait here. Up, and away!
Oh, boy. I thought it was all up with us, Jim.
It would have been if not for Superman. Say, he turned up in the nick of time yesterday, too. Maybe Shushaya took care of that.
What did you say, Jim?
I said, I'll bet the genie...
Genie?
Look, Miss Lane. Here comes Superman with the bandit's car.
Oh!
Are they done for, Superman?
One is, Jim. The other three, including Joe Mora, are in pretty bad shape.
Mora?
Yes, Mr. Public Enemy number 1 himself. I'm taking him and his pals to the police infirmary. You two meet me there, if you're able to drive.
Oh, sure, we're all right.
Okay, see you soon, then. Up, and away!
Joe Mora. Oh, boy.
Well, don't sit there dreaming, Jim. Start the car. Superman wants us to meet him at police headquarters.
Public Enemy number 1 shoots watchmen and steals aircraft payroll.
What?
Daily Planet reporters trail them and are saved by Superman, who also rescues Bandit's car from river. Oh, boy, what a story.
Oh, good heavens. I'm so upset I didn't realize we had a terrific scoop in our hands. I mean, you have, Jim. Get going for the nearest telephone.
I'm practically there already. Planet Extra, read all about it. Superman and young Planet reporter capture Joe Mora and recover aircraft payroll. Extra.
Whew, you ought to see the reception Jim. He's nicknamed them Scoops. And, oh, hello, Chief. I didn't see you sitting there.
Hello.
Did you come all the way down from City Hall to join the party?
I certainly did. I'm still editor of the Daily Planet as well as the mayor, you know. And I've come down to congratulate Jim. And to double his salary.
Double his salary. Oh, that's wonderful, Chief.
It's no more than he deserves.
Don't do it, Chief, please.
Oh, now, Clark, are you...
Well, why in heaven's name do you keep saying don't do it? Didn't Jim get 2 scoops in 2 days? Terrific scoops?
Well, maybe,
Maybe.
but...
He caught every other paper in town flat-footed.
I know.
Our circulation jumped over 200,000. As a matter of fact, I ought to triple his salary.
I think so, too, Chief.
I tell you, you're making a mistake, Chief. By building Jim up this way, you're building up his confidence and trust in the person who's trying to murder him.
Murder him?
What are you talking about, Kent?
Don't you see? It's due to a miracle, to 2 miracles, in fact, that Jim is still alive.
Why, Clark.
Listen, if a rat hadn't run across the tripcord in the tunnel and set off the explosive just before Jim got there, he would have been blown to bits.
Well, maybe so,
And if
but...
if Superman hadn't been following the bandits last night and reached the river just as Jim and you too, Lois, were falling, it would have been all up with both of you.
Well, yes, I know, but now...
No, Kent. A good reporter makes his miracles.
Oh, now, look,
That's
Chief.
right. If a reporter's on his toes and in there trying, he often gets the break.
Right. Jim may have been a little lucky.
Lucky.
But he got his stories, and that's what counts. Now, where you get the notion that somebody was trying to murder him is beyond me.
It's beyond me, too, Chief.
Can't either of you see that Jim was deliberately lured into the sewer tunnel by somebody who wanted to get rid of him?
No, I can't.
Well, what makes you so sure of that,
Well,
Kent?
it stands to reason, Chief. It's obvious that he was sent into the tunnel, and he was walking straight at that tripcord.
Why
when...
can't you believe that some crank or crackpot wanted to blow up the subway or the gas mains and somebody else heard about it and tipped Jim off?
Yes. Or maybe the crackpot himself tipped Jim. You know, some of those nuts want publicity at all costs.
Certainly. That's just what I said yesterday.
All right. Then what about this business last night?
Well, what about it?
Jim was told to drive north on River Road.
Yes?
Just before he reached the detour above Eastland, where they're building a new bridge, somebody removed the detour signs. And I say that was done so that Jim would drive into the river in the darkness and be drowned.
That's simply jumping to a conclusion, Kent.
No, it isn't.
You haven't a bit of proof to back that up.
Of course not. Anybody might have removed the detour signs.
But
the trouble with you, Clark...
I know. Sure. I'm jealous of Jim.
Well, I hate to say so, but, I think you are.
No, Kent, I'm starting to think the same thing.
Oh, confound it. Why must you both be so thick-headed? What?
Now, you wait a minute, Clark.
I'm sorry, but you've got to believe me. I know I'm right. 2 attempts were already made on Jim's life, and I'm sure there'll be another.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I.
All right. I was counting on you two to help me save Jim, but since you won't, I've got to do what I can alone. There's just one chance left, and I'm going to take it now.
We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So keep listening. Adventures of Superman. While Clark Kent was telling Perry White and Lois Lane that Jimmy Olsen was in danger of his life, the cub reporter was answering a telephone call.
This is Abdul.
Oh, hi, Abdul. Listen, that little genie you gave me is sure delivering the goods. I still can't believe it, but I got 2 big scoops and Mr. White doubled my salary and...
Be careful, Sahib Olsen. If anyone learns of Shushaya, he will no longer be able to grant your wishes.
Oh, well, nobody knows. Mr. Kent has been trying to find out where I get my tips.
Do not tell him or anyone else.
Oh, I won't, Abdul. Don't worry.
Good. Now, hear me. Shushaya has granted 2 of your wishes. That indicates you are in high favor with him, and that you must ask him to grant the 3rd wish at once.
At once? You mean right now?
Today at 6 o'clock in the usual place. Do you understand?
Sure. I'll ask him, all right. You know, I still can't make myself believe this stuff, Abdul.
Have you not had proof of Shushaya's powers?
Oh, yes, I guess so, but...
Then do not fail to ask him to grant your 3rd wish today. When 2 have been granted, the 3rd is always granted.
It is, huh?
It is indeed.
Oh, brother.
Shushaya will not fail you. Farewell.
Farewell. Oh, I mean, so long, Abdul, and thanks. Oh, brother. Now I get another wish and another scoop. Am I riding high?
Replacing the telephone, Jimmy Olsen's eyes glisten as he visualizes his dream of becoming a great newspaper reporter well on its way to success. What will happen when Jimmy consults the genie again? Is Clark Kent right when he insists there's a plot afoot to take Jimmy's life? There's a thrill a minute in tomorrow's exciting episode, fellows and girls, so be sure to listen. Tune in, same time, same station, for Chapter 7 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, in his guise of Clark Kent, Superman enlists the aid of reporter Lois Lane in a vital mission.
Now get this, Lois. I've got to go away for a couple of hours, and while I'm gone, I want you to keep your eye on Jim Olsen.
Jim, what for?
Never mind, just don't let him out of your sight for a single second.
But why, Clark? Why?
Because someone is out to take his life.
And now, The Adventures of Superman. 2 sensational newspaper scoops, which Jimmy Olsen secretly believes were sent his way by a genie, have made the young cub reporter the toast of his newspaper and caused editor Perry White to double his salary. Clark Kent, however, who unknown to all is Superman, believes that Jimmy is being led on by an unknown person who intends to take his life. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Kent has called Jimmy into his office, and as we join them now, is questioning the young reporter.
Jim, I want you to tell me the name of the person who's been giving you these mysterious tips.
I can't tell you, Mr. Kent.
Why not?
Well, I just can't.
You mean because you promised not to tell?
Well, I didn't exactly promise, but...
Look, Jim, I'm asking you because I'm certain the person who's been giving you these tips is trying to kill you.
Oh, no. Where'd you ever get that idea?
Never mind, I'm certain of it. Now, he just missed twice. The other night in the tunnel when a rat set off the explosive that was meant for you, and last night at the river
Look,
when...
Mr. Kent, I hate to say this, but you're all wet. Why,
Jim, have I ever given you a wrong steer?
Oh, no, but...
I'm not giving you one now, either. I know what I'm talking about. Now, tell me the name of the person who's been tipping you off to these big stories.
Honest, Mr. Kent, I wish I could, but I can't.
What?
Because if I did, I wouldn't get any more tips.
Oh?
But you're all wrong about my being in danger.
No, I'm not, Jim.
Sure, I'm as safe as in a church. And before this is over, I'm going to be the biggest reporter in the country. Well, except for you, that is. Well, I got to write a follow-up to my story now. I'll see you later.
Jim, you're signing your own death warrant.
Oh, quit your kidding, Mr. Kent. I'm sitting on top of the world. So long.
You want to see me, Mr. Kent?
Yes, Beanie. You and Jim are pretty good friends, aren't you?
Sure. Me and Scoops are just like that.
Well, do you happen to know a friend of Jim's, probably a new friend named Genie?
Nope, I don't. Why?
Jim let fall a name the other day, both to me and to Lois, when we were questioning him about his story tips. He covered up right afterwards, but the name sounded like Genie.
It did, huh?
Yes. You're sure you don't know anyone by that name?
I guess you want to get hold of this Genie and get her to give you some big scoops, too, huh?
Skip it. Jim's mother might know. I'll hop out and see her. You're certain you don't know any friend of Jim's named Genie, Mrs. Olsen?
No, I don't, Mr. Kent. I know all of Jim's friends, every one of them.
Oh.
Why do you ask?
Well, I don't want to alarm you, Mrs. Olsen, but I think there's something strange about these big scoops Jim's been getting.
I don't think it's strange.
Huh?
I've always known Jim would be a success. He's very bright, you know, and he's not afraid of work.
Oh, yes, of course, but
I'm surprised that you're trying to belittle him, Mr. Kent. He's always looked up to you so.
I'm not trying to belittle him, Mrs. Olsen. I just...
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, certainly.
Somebody's at the door.
James Olsen lives here.
Oh, yes, but he's at work now. What is
Special delivery letter for him. Sign here, please.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's a special delivery letter for Jimmy. Oh, can you just see up there on the envelope who it's from, Mr. Kent? I left my glasses upstairs.
Oh, yes, certainly. It's from Lucius Tuttle, attorney at law, Pine Valley, Vermont.
Pine Valley?
Uh-huh.
What? That's where my late husband came from. I wonder what a lawyer in Pine Valley would be sending Jimmy a special delivery about.
Oh, I don't... Uh-oh.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Kent?
Why, this letter says...
What's that? Land's sake, the way you're looking at that envelope, a body would think you could read the letter inside it.
Huh? Oh, tell me, Mrs. Olsen, are any of your husband's relatives still in Pine Valley?
Oh, just his stepbrother Lem, I believe.
Well, don't you know for sure?
No. You see, Lem and my husband fell out years ago, long before my husband passed away.
Oh, I see.
But about this letter for Jimmy...
Look, I'm going back to the office now, Mrs. Olsen. Would you like me to take it along for Jim?
Oh, why, yes, I'd be thankful to you, Mr. Kenton. Please tell Jimmy to call me up and tell me what it says.
I will. Goodbye, Mrs. Olsen. You see, Lois, Jim's Uncle Lem hated Jim's father and his family, and yet according to this special delivery letter for Jim from a lawyer in Pine Valley, Uncle Lem died last week and left Jim $10,000.
$10,000?
Yes.
Clark, how wonderful.
Wonderful, if true.
What do you mean, if true? You said this lawyer wrote to Jim and said so.
He did. But don't you think it's a little strange that Uncle Lem would leave $10,000 to the son of the man he hated?
Well, yes, but he could have had a change of heart before he died. Gone soft, you know.
Well, yes, he could have. Or this might be a trick.
A trick? What do you mean?
The lawyer asks Jim to come up to Pine Valley tomorrow when the will is to be probated.
What's tricky about that?
Don't you see, Lois? Jim was led into 2 traps in the past 2 days. In both cases, the bait used was the promise of a sensational newspaper story. But in this case, the bait is money.
Oh, you're off on that nonsense again. About somebody trying to murder Jim.
It's not nonsense.
Well, I say it is, and so does the chief.
Now,
honestly, Clark, when you get an idea in your head, it takes dynamite to get it out.
Well, maybe, but I'm trying to save Jim's life before it's too late, and I want you to help me.
All right. What do you want me to do?
Well, it's very simple. I'm going up to Pine Valley now to investigate this inheritance. I want you to promise not to let Jim out of your sight while I'm gone.
Why?
I've told you why. Because he's in danger of his life.
I don't believe it, and don't shout at me.
I'm sorry. Oh, look, Lois, will you please cooperate with me just for a couple of hours until I get back? Please.
Well, I suppose I could keep an eye on Jim, but it's so silly,
That
Clark.
a girl. Oh, and don't mention his inheritance to him. Promise?
You mean he doesn't know about it yet?
Nobody knows except you and me, not even his mother.
Then how did you find out?
Well,
Clark Kent, you didn't open Jim's letter.
No, of course
Well, then
not.
how did you
Oh, it
find...
doesn't matter now. Just promise not to mention his inheritance and promise not to let Jim out of your sight for a second till I get back, will you?
Oh, all right, I promise.
Thanks. I'll see you later.
Hurrying from Lois Lane's office, Clark Kent steps into a vacant storeroom, swiftly strips to the blue costume and red cape of Superman, and a moment later is rocketing through the late afternoon skies, bound for Pine Valley, Vermont.
Up, up, and away!
We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode, so keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman.
Soon after Clark Kent as Superman streaked away from the Daily Planet, the big clock in the now almost deserted city room showed 5 minutes before 6 o'clock. Jimmy Olsen, carrying a small carved box under his arm, left his desk and walked a bit furtively toward Kent's office.
Jim, where are you going?
Oh, I'm just going into Mr. Kent's office for a minute, Miss Lane, to make a call.
What's the matter with your own phone?
Well, this is rather private.
To your girlfriend, Jeannie, perhaps?
What?
I was just kidding. Go ahead, Jim.
Hurrying into Kent's office, Jimmy shuts the door behind him. Then, as the clock in the nearby insurance tower begins to strike 6, he quickly removes the tiny bronze figure of the genie Shushaya from the carved box and with trembling fingers sets it on its 4 tiny feet on Kent's desk.
6 o'clock, Shushaya. Time for you to do your stuff. Go on. Give me another big scoop. Just like those 2 you already gave me. Come on, Shushaya. Give.
As Jimmy makes his wish to the genie, the little half-man, half-ram figure begins rocking from side to side on its 4 tiny feet, as it did previously before the mysterious voice bade Jimmy make his wish. Will Jimmy be directed to another scoop and to great danger? What will Superman, who is convinced that his young reporter friend is the target of an unknown murderer, discover in Vermont? And what is the secret of the genie? There are thrills, chills, and high suspense in tomorrow's exciting episode, fellows and girls, so be sure to hear it. Tune in, same time, same station, for Chapter 8 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice.
Superman is far away, Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen asks what he thinks is a genie to grant another wish and receives an amazing reply from the tiny bronze figure.
Give me another big newspaper scoop, Shushaya, will you?
Yes, I will grant your wish, Master.
Now you're talking.
But for the last time.
For the last time? Well, why? What's
When
it?
I have granted this wish, you will need me no more. For tonight you will achieve immortality.
Immortality? Just how does he mean that?
And now, the adventures of Superman. A tiny bronze figure of a genie, which apparently has the power of speech, has directed Jimmy Olsen to 2 sensational newspaper scoops. But both times, only the opportune arrival of Superman saved the young reporter's life. Jimmy was showered with praise, and editor Perry White doubled his salary. But Superman, who masquerades as reporter Clark Kent, was convinced that some unknown person was trying to take Jimmy's life. Then a special delivery letter addressed to Jimmy fell into Kent's hands and furnished him with a possible clue. Warning Lois Lane not to let Jimmy out of her sight while he was gone, Kent secretly resumed his true identity of Superman and streaked to the little town of Pine Valley, Vermont. And as we join him now, once more in his guise of the mild-mannered, bespectacled reporter, he is in the small law office of Lucius Tuttle, a tall, spare, white-haired man.
Tell me, Mr. Tuttle, did you send a special delivery letter to Jim Olsen in Metropolis telling him he had inherited $10,000?
I did.
Well, then you mean Jim really did inherit that money?
Of course he did. Left to him by his Uncle Lem. Guess your young friend was surprised, eh?
He certainly will be. As I understand it, Uncle Lem not only hated his stepbrother, Jim's late father, but he hated Jim and his mother, too.
He sure did, Mr. Kent. Lem hated just about everybody. I expect he even hated himself.
Well, then how do you explain his leaving $10,000 to his nephew?
Easy. He did it to spite Abner.
Abner? Who's he?
Abner Quinn. He's Lem's nephew on his mother's side.
Oh.
And a no account good for nothing if ever I seen one. Mean, too. Guess that's why Lem come as close to liking Abner as he ever come to liking anybody. That mean streak appealed to him. Meaning no disrespect to the dead, Mr. Kent.
No, of course not. But tell me, Mr. Tuttle, why didn't he leave his money to Abner instead of to Jim Olsen?
Told you. Lem aimed to spite Abner.
But why in
On
heaven's...
account of Abner wouldn't stay up here on Lem's farm and take care of him when Lem got to ailing.
Oh.
Lem wanted to save the price of a hired hand, you see. But Abner, he'd come up for a little while and then go right back to Metropolis to his card-playing and fast friends.
I see.
Or, once in a while, when Lem wouldn't give him any money, Abner'd get a little job acting on the stage.
Oh?
He's got kind of a talent for it, but he's too lazy to work at it.
I see, but why...
Oh, about a month ago it was, just a couple of weeks before he went to meet his maker. Lem called me in. Tuttle, he says, I want you to draw me a new will. Fix it so's my brother's son, Jim Olsen, gets all my cash and securities. About $10,000 that'll come to.
And he cut Abner Quinn off completely?
Yep. He don't get a cent, said old Lem to me, excepting if anything happens to Jim Olsen before my will is probated.
Uh-oh.
In that case, Abner can have my $10,000, Lem says. But I don't figure he'll get it, because Jim's just a young fella.
Wait, Mr. Tuttle. Does Abner Quinn know about this new will?
He sure does, Mr. Kent.
He does, eh?
Why, he come running up here for Lem's funeral, his hands itching to get hold of the money. When I told him he wasn't getting a red cent, his face turned so red, and his eyes got so mean, I thought he was going to kill me.
Well, did you tell him then about the provision in the will whereby he'd get his uncle's money if anything happened to Jim Olsen?
Nope, I wasn't going to tell him anything. But the next day, he come up here with a fast-talking city lawyer demanding to see the will.
And you showed it to him?
Oh, yes.
Uh-oh.
I didn't have to, but I wanted to see Abner's face when he saw he was cut off.
What did he say?
He hit the ceiling.
Oh, of course.
But he knew he was licked. His lawyer friend told him so.
Yeah, he was licked, that is, unless something happened to Jim before the will was probated.
That's right, Mr. Kent.
According to your letter to Jim, Mr. Tuttle, the will is being probated tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yep, it is.
All right. Now, do you happen to know where Abner Quinn is now?
Why, I expect he's back in Metropolis. That's where he usually is.
Do you know his address in Metropolis?
I reckon I've got it here in my book.
Would you please give it to me?
Yeah, here it is. Ah, here it is. Broadway Hotel, 219 West 48th Street.
I know the place. It's a third-rate theatrical hotel. All right, I'll get going now, Mr. Tuttle. Many thanks. clothes. If Abner Quinn is behind these mysterious attacks on Jim, he'll try to finish him tonight before his uncle's will is probated tomorrow. So I'd better get to his hotel fast.
As Superman. There we are. All set. Now, up, and away!
Leaping high into the sky above Little Pine Valley, Superman glances briefly at the setting sun, then rockets away for Metropolis and Abner Quinn's hotel. Meanwhile, having received his instructions from the genie in Clark Kent's office in the Daily Planet, Jimmy Olsen, the carved box containing the genie under his arm, steps into the now almost deserted city room. He starts quickly toward the elevators, but stops abruptly when Lois Lane calls to him.
Jim, just a minute, please.
Huh? Oh, Miss Lane, what?
Where are you going?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, I'm going out.
Out where?
Well, I'm going to eat dinner.
Oh, good idea. I'm rather hungry myself. I'll go with you.
Oh, no, you can't.
Why, Jim, are you refusing to eat with me?
Oh, no, it's not that, Miss Lane. It's just... Well, I already promised to eat with somebody, see, and I...
Oh, why can't I... Say, what's that noise?
Oh, what noise?
Oh, don't you hear it? That kind of a rattling noise?
Oh, why, it's not...
I think it's coming from that little box you're carrying. Let's see it, Jim.
No, don't touch it.
Why not? What's in it?
It's a surprise.
Surprise? Jim, is there something alive in that box?
Oh, no. Yes. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know?
Look, I gotta go now, Miss Lane.
You may as well know right now, Jimmy Olsen, that you're not going anyplace without me.
Now, listen, Miss Lane.
Now, tell me, what is in that box?
Gee whiz, can't a fella take a surprise to a girl without everybody butting in?
Oh, so you've got a date with a girl.
Well...
Who is it? Jeannie?
Huh?
The one Clark and I thought was giving you those story tips?
Oh, no, it isn't. Now, look, Miss Lane, I gotta go.
All right, I'm ready. I'm very anxious to meet your girl, Jim.
No, I can't take you along, Miss Lane.
Now, don't be silly, Jimmy. I'll only stay for a little while. I just want to meet the girl and see what's in that box.
But... Look, Miss Lane, I'll call her up first and tell her, okay?
Well, yes, if you think that's necessary, but...
I'll call her right now.
Well, where are you going? Here's the phone on this desk.
I'll call her from Mr. Kent's office.
Oh, okay, Jim. I understand.
I'm in a spot. Miss Lane insists on tagging along. But Shushaya said I had to go alone tonight. What'll I do?
Jimmy seems to be trapped. Or is he? We'll be back in a moment to find out, so keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. Once more in his guise of Clark Kent, Superman walks swiftly into the almost deserted city room of the Metropolis Daily Planet and sees Lois Lane reading a newspaper at Jimmy Olsen's desk.
Hello, Lois.
Oh, Clark, did you find out about Jim's $10,000 inheritance?
Not so loud. It's on the level, all right.
I told you so. Now I hope you'll stop your nonsense about tricks and plots to murder Jim.
Lois, now I'm sure it isn't nonsense.
Oh, now, Clark, you just...
Now, wait a minute. Let me finish. Jim gets his legacy, all right, but only if he's still alive tomorrow.
Huh?
If he isn't, the money goes to one Abner Quinn. And my hunch is that Abner is the person who's been trying to get rid of Jim.
Well, who's Abner, and why
He's a distant cousin of Jim's who, according to the terms of their uncle's will, gets the legacy if anything happens to Jim before tomorrow.
I see,
Now, I've just been to Abner's hotel, but he checked out a couple of days ago and didn't leave a forwarding address. So I put Candy Myers on his trail.
Oh, Clark.
And meanwhile, we just make sure that Jim doesn't get out of our sight until... Say, where is Jim?
Oh, relax. He's in your office telephoning to his girl.
Now, wait
and
a
now
minute.
that you're back, I can
Jim
stop
is not
him.
in my office, Lois.
Now, stop that, Clark. I just saw him go in, and I've been sitting right here watching
Just
the door.
the same,
ever
I
si-
tell you, he is not in my office. Come here.
Oh, Clark, really?
Look!
Good grief. You're right.
Of course I am. Now,
But
where
he
in heaven's...
couldn't have left without my seeing him. Why, I was sitting right there watching
Well,
the
he's
door.
gone, though. Lois, pray that he...
Oh, no, Clark. Oh, no.
What has happened to Jimmy? How could he have left Kent's office when Lois was waiting and watching outside the door? We'll learn the amazing answers to most of these questions in tomorrow's spine-thrilling episode, fellows and girls, so be sure to listen. Tune in, same time, same station, for Chapter 9 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, when Superman returns to the Daily Planet in his guise of Clark Kent, he and reporter Lois Lane make a startling discovery.
Where is Jim, Lois? He's not in my office.
He must be, Clark. I saw him
But
go
he
in.
isn't, I tell you. See for yourself.
Good heavens. You're right.
Of course. Now, where
But
could
he came in here just a few minutes ago to telephone. I've been sitting right outside the door, and he didn't come out.
Then how do you explain his not being here?
Well, I can't explain it. He just disappeared.
And now, the adventures of Superman. By some strange means, as yet undetermined, Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen has apparently been receiving tips on sensational news stories from a tiny bronze figure he calls a genie, and is now being hailed at the Daily Planet as a great reporter. Warned by Abdul, the mysterious man who gave him the genie, Jimmy has refused to reveal the source of his tips. But Clark Kent, who unknown to all is Superman, is convinced that some unknown person is out to take Jimmy's life. Telling Lois Lane not to let Jimmy out of her sight, Kent left to follow up a clue. But when he returned to the Daily Planet a short time later, Jimmy, who had been contacted by the genie during Kent's absence, had mysteriously disappeared. Now, in Kent's office, Lois Lane, the girl reporter, stares about her in bewilderment.
But I tell you, Jim went in here to telephone, and he didn't come out, Clark.
Wait a minute. I think I know how he got out without your seeing him, Lois.
How?
Come over here to this window.
The window?
Uh-huh. Look, there's a wide ledge outside, see? Now, Jim could have crawled along that to the storeroom.
Oh, yes.
And got out through there to the freight elevator.
Yes, of course. I'll bet that's what he did, Clark. Now that I remember, he did his best to get rid of me before.
He did, eh?
Yes, you see, when he got it through his head that he wasn't leaving here without me, he said he had a dinner date with a girlfriend.
Girlfriend?
Yes, and I insisted on going along with him. Finally, he said he'd call her up and find out if that would be all right.
Uh-huh.
So he came in here to your office, and, well, you know the rest.
Oh, if only I did know the rest, Lois. This girl might have promised him another big story. She might even be working for Abner Quinn.
Abner Quinn? Oh, he's Jim's cousin, isn't he?
Yes, a distant cousin. You remember I told you their mutual uncle left Jim $10,000, which he inherits unless something happens to him before tomorrow, in which case the money goes to Abner Quinn.
Oh, Clark, surely you don't think...
I'm not just thinking, Lois. I'm suspicious. Quinn is a bad lot, and I'm certain those big scoops Jim got so mysteriously were traps designed to take his life.
Now, look, Clark, you don't have a bit of proof for what you're saying.
I know it,
and
but-
yet you're willing to accuse this Abner Quinn, a man you've never even seen, of being a would-be murderer.
I'm not actually accusing him, Lois,
Well, you
but
certainly
I do...
are.
Oh, excuse me just a minute. It's my phone. Hello? No, Jim isn't here. I don't know where he is, Beanie. Yes, I'll tell him. So long.
Well, I gather Beanie doesn't know where Jim is either, hmm?
No, he said he called him at home, but... Hey, what's that?
What?
Did you hear that rattling noise?
Oh, yes. Yes, it sounds
Seems
like...
to be coming from my desk drawer. Oh, what in blazes is this?
It's a little carved box.
Yes, and the rattling is coming from
Clark,
it.
that's the box Jim had.
Well, what's it doing in my desk?
I don't know, but it was rattling that way when I saw him with it, but he refused to tell me what was in it. He just acted very strangely when that rattling began.
Great Scott,
What's
wonder...
in that box, Clark? Go on, open it.
Look,
Why, what on earth?
you know what this little bronze figure is?
Well, it has the head of a man with horns, and The body of a sheep.
A ram.
All right, a ram. What's it supposed to be?
A genie.
A genie?
Sure, you know, one of those mythical creatures who's supposed to be able to make your wishes come true.
Wait a minute, I don't get it. How could this little bronze figure,
How could it tip Jim off to his big news scoops?
Why, yes, of course it couldn't, but...
Oh, yes, it could, and it did, Lois.
What? Have you gone mad,
Not
Clark?
at all. I just haven't been as observant as I should have been the last couple of days. Here, wait, and I'll show you.
What are you looking for under your desk?
I want to get something that's stuck onto the underside. There we are. Now, here's the answer, Lois.
Why, what's that gadget?
A miniature shortwave radio receiver.
A radio receiver?
Uh-huh, fixed with a suction cup so that it would adhere to a flat surface.
Good heavens.
Somebody, and I have a hunch who it was, stuck it to the underside of my desk. And then talking from nearby, probably through a walkie-talkie transmitter, he set his voice into my office here. So made Jim think the genie was talking to him.
Oh, now, Jim wouldn't fall for that.
I'm afraid he did, Lois. Since he found it so necessary to shake you, I assume he must have gotten another tip.
Now, wait a minute,
Beanie
Clark.
said a man wearing a turban and earrings who called himself Abdul brought Jim a card box like this a few days ago.
Yes.
Since then, I found out that Abner Quinn is an actor. So my hunch is that he posed as Abdul, gave Jim this figure and some cock and bull story, planning to lead him into a trap.
But why?
To get rid of him and get Jim's $10,000 inheritance for himself.
Oh, Clark, stop it. You're scaring me.
I'm scared myself, Lois. I tried to find Quinn, but he'd moved from his third-rate theatrical hotel without leaving a forwarding address. I've got Candy Myers on his trail, but Candy may or may not find him in time. Now, listen closely.
Yes, Clark.
You call Inspector Henderson.
All right.
Tell him everything I've told you and tell him to turn loose every detective he can to look for Abner Quinn and Jim.
Yes.
You stay right here in case Candy Myers calls.
All right, but where are you going?
I'm going to look for Jim in my way. You'd better pray hard that I find him in time.
Hurrying from his office, Clark Kent steps into the storeroom, swiftly resumes his true identity of Superman, and leaps high from the window into the night sky to begin his search for Jimmy Olsen.
Up, up, and away!
A short time later, just before midnight, the young cub reporter himself alights from a taxi at the gates of the Riverside Amusement Park and approaches the cashier's window.
One ticket, please.
Closing up in a few minutes, Bud.
Well, that's all right. Give me a ticket anyhow, please.
Okay, here you are.
Thanks. Look, which way is the Tunnel of Fear?
Tunnel of Fear, straight up the midway, first turn to the right. You won't have time to get a...
That's okay. I don't know if I want to ride. Thanks, mister.
A few minutes later, the brilliant varicolored lights are dimmed. The concessions and rides start closing up, and the last of the crowds are streaming toward the exit gates as Jimmy pauses before the dark and deserted Tunnel of Fear. Just beyond the ticket cage at the landing platform, 3 empty gondolas bob on the narrow blackish water which winds in a canal toward a long, low tunnel. Staring about him but seeing no one, Jimmy steps uncertainly onto the landing platform, then starts as a voice speaks to him out of the darkness.
Good evening, Sahib Olsen.
Whirling around, Jimmy makes out a tall man wearing a long robe, a turban wound around his head, and small bright stones in his ears. And then, taking a step nearer, Jimmy gasps as he recognizes the man.
Why, you're the man who gave me the genie. You're Abdul.
Amazed, the young cub reporter stares at the tall, turbaned figure and wonders what Abdul is doing here. We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So keep listening. And now, back to the adventures of Superman. It is midnight in an amusement park. And on the dark, deserted landing platform at the entrance to the Tunnel of Fear, Jimmy Olsen has met Abdul, the strange man who had presented him with the genie, Shushaya.
Gosh, what are you doing here, Abdul?
Shushaya instructed me as he did you. Get into the boat, please. We must proceed.
Oh, to get my scoop, huh?
Of course.
Okay, let's go, Abdul. Say, where are you taking me?
We are going into the Tunnel of Fear. There you will find your great newspaper story and immortality.
Immortality? The genie said that, too. Just how did he mean that?
That, Sahib, you will discover for yourself very soon.
Despite himself, a small cold chill runs down Jimmy Olsen's spine at Abdul's words. But he quickly shakes himself out of it as he recalls that it was, after all, Abdul who had presented him with the tiny genie, which already has granted him 2 sensational scoops and caused his salary at the Daily Planet to be doubled. So Jimmy smiles and sits up eagerly as the gondola-like boat, with Abdul propelling it with a long oar, approaches the low black tunnel. What will happen now as Superman continues to search for his young friend? We'll find out in tomorrow's thrilling, smashing climax of our story, fellows and girls. So be sure to listen. Tune in, same time, same station, for Chapter 10 of The Secret of the Genie on The Adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with amazing physical powers far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. Today, breaking off his search for young Jimmy Olsen, Superman returns to the Daily Planet in his guise of Clark Kent, where he checks with girl reporter Lois Lane.
What about the police, Lois? Have Inspector Henderson's men picked up Jim's trail?
I just talked to him, Clark. He told me his men have had no luck either.
Oh, what about my private detective pal, Candy Myers? Any word from him?
Nothing, Clark. Oh, dear. What are we going to do?
Oh, I don't know, Lois. I'm afraid we'll never see Jim again.
And now, the adventures of Superman. After getting 2 sensational newspaper scoops, which he believed were sent his way by a tiny bronze figure, cub reporter Jimmy Olsen consulted the genie again. Then he left the Daily Planet in a hurry. A short while later, Clark Kent discovered the statuette in his own desk. Then he found a miniature walkie-talkie radio receiver attached to the underside of his desk. Convinced that Jim's distant cousin, Abner Quinn, had used the genie and the walkie-talkie to lure the young reporter to his death, Kent contacted the police and then, in his true identity of Superman, began a desperate search for Jim. But meanwhile, Jimmy had arrived at the amusement park, which was closing down for the night. At the Tunnel of Fear, he was accosted by the turbaned Abdul, the man who had given him the genie. Abdul told the young reporter to enter a gondola, and standing in the stern with a long oar, sent the craft gliding down a narrow canal toward a long tunnel. Except for the two and the splash of Abdul's oar, all is dark, silent, and deserted.
Say, Abdul, what is this new story I'm going to get?
You will find out for yourself, Sahib, when we enter the tunnel of fear.
Oh, boy, I can hardly wait. The genie said this scoop would even top the other 2 I got.
Shusaya has been good to you, Sahib?
You're not kidding. I don't know how to thank you.
Lower your head, Sahib. We are about to enter the tunnel.
Oh, okay. Golly, it's dark in here. I can't see a thing.
In a moment, when we enter the main portion of the tunnel, you will be able to see a little. A fluorescent substance in the walls provides a faint light.
Say, you're right. I can see a little now. The ceiling's higher, too.
Yes, I will not need my oar now.
Well, where's my big story? You said I'd get it when we got into the tunnel.
Yes, you are about to get it now.
Oh, but I don't see it. Hey, what's the idea of the knife, Abdul?
It's for you, cousin.
Cousin? What are you talking about?
You didn't know we were cousins, did you, Jim?
Quit your kidding.
I'm not
Put
kidding.
that
you.
knife down, will you?
You got away from me twice, you lucky little rat. At the explosion and last night at the bridge.
I got away from you?
But your luck has run out now, and this time I'm going to finish you.
Hey, no. Wait, don't.
Then we'll see who gets Uncle Lem's $10,000.
What $10,000? You must be crazy. Put that knife down.
Sure, I'll put it down, all right. This way.
Hey, no. Cut it out.
You can't get away from me this time. I'm going to finish you now.
Clinging desperately to the turbaned man's wrist, Jimmy Olsen fights for his life in the dark tunnel. As slowly, the taller, stronger man forces the blade closer and closer to the desperate young reporter. Meanwhile, unable to pick up Jimmy's trail, Superman has streaked back to the Daily Planet. Resuming his guise of mild-mannered, bespectacled Clark Kent, he enters the long, dimly lit city room, deserted at this late hour except for a telegrapher, a night city editor, and Lois Lane, who is concluding a telephone conversation as Kent approaches.
Yes, I'll tell him when he gets back. Right. Goodbye.
Hello, Lois.
Oh, Clark, am I glad to see you. Listen, did you...
I'll give it to you in a few words. I haven't been able to find Jim, and neither have the police.
I know, but
I'm
listen,
still
Clark.
sure Abner Quinn is behind the genie routine, and I was hoping that Candy Myers would be able to pick up Quinn's trail, but so far...
Will you be quiet a moment so I can tell you something?
Tell me what?
Candy Myers has picked up Abner Quinn's trail.
He has?
Yes, he just phoned in and said Quinn has been working for the last few days at the Riverside Amusement Park.
The amusement park?
Yes, at the Tunnel of Fear. He dresses as an Arab or something.
Arab, of course.
Candy's on his way out there now, but...
So am I. I'll see him there. Be in touch with you later, Lois.
Rocketing away from the Daily Planet, Superman is on his way to aid Jimmy Olsen, who at this moment in the dark, shallow waters of the Tunnel of Fear clings desperately to the powerful wrist of his turbaned opponent. Slowly but surely, the young reporter feels the power of his resistance running out. And now, with the long knife only scant few inches away from his chest, Jimmy hears his would-be murderer cry out,
It's no use, my dear cousin. I'm going to finish you now.
Oh, no, you don't. I'll take that knife, Quinn.
Superman, it's Superman.
Let go. I'll kill you. Let me go.
I think I'd better give you a sleeping pill.
Oh, boy, Superman. You got here just in time. He was going to...
I know. It's all over now, Jim, so just relax. Come on now, up with you. And up with your money-mad cousin here.
Jeepers. Is he really my cousin?
Uh-huh. A distant cousin who would inherit $10,000 from a mutual uncle if you died. We're going to put him in a nice, cozy cell at the city jail. Come on, hang on, Jim. Here we go. Up, and away!
What makes the genie rock like that, Mr. Kent?
There's a tiny vibrator inside this little figure, Jim, that's set between two magnetic poles. And when you talk in its direction, the sound waves set the vibrator moving from pole to pole, and the genie rocks from side to side like it's doing now, until you pick it up, like this. See?
Well, I'll be... But what about the voice, Mr. Kent? I distinctly heard a voice coming from it.
The voice was your cousin Abner talking on a walkie-talkie, Jim.
A walkie-talkie?
Yes, he attached a miniature walkie-talkie receiver to the underside of my desk here. Then he stood in that stair hall across the court, which overlooks this office. When he saw you make a wish to the genie, he just spoke into his transmitter and told you what to do.
Oh, and I fell for it. Boy, am I dumb.
Don't feel too badly about it.
Oh, there you are, Olsen, you unspeakable word, you.
Huh?
Now, take it easy,
You
Chief.
stay out of this, Kent.
But, Chief, look.
And you too, Lois. Well, Olsen, what have you got to say for yourself?
Oh, not much, Chief, except Well, I'm just a dope, that's all. I should have listened to Mr. Kent in the first place.
Is that so?
Well, it's all over now. Abner Quinn is in jail.
Oh, no, it's not all over. Not by a long
Oh,
shot.
now, wait.
Jim
Chief.
not only made a fool of himself, believing in that superstitious Tommy rot, but he made a fool of me, too.
You? How did I?
By getting me to double your salary. By making me brag about you all over the town, you... And, now how am I going to face people? How can I tell them that my young genius of a reporter has been led on by a genie?
Got a wonderful headline for that story, Chief. Genie bites genius.
Oh, I like that, Clark.
Well, I don't. And as for you,
Oh, gee,
Olsen,
Chief, I didn't...
you're fired.
Oh, now, look here, Chief. Let's not go that
Now,
far.
be quiet, quiet. I'll take no back talk from anyone. Olsen is definitely through.
As Perry White glowers defiantly at the shocked members of his staff, Jimmy Olsen, his face pale, hangs his head and starts to walk out of the office. Is this really the end of the young reporter's career with the Daily Planet? We'll know in a moment when we return for the climax of today's episode. So stand by.
And now, back to the adventures of Superman. Believing that Jimmy Olsen has deliberately perpetrated a hoax on the Daily Planet, Editor Perry White has just fired the young cub reporter from his staff. And now, as Jimmy, white-faced, starts to walk slowly out of the editor's office, Clark Kent comes to his defense.
Just a minute, Jim. Look here, Chief. Isn't it true that Jim brought in 2 scoops?
Well, yes. But...
And didn't you say the Daily Planet circulation jumped considerably because of them?
Yes.
Then Jim earned his raise and then some, even if he did do it by being a bit of a,
Go on, say it, Mr. Kent. I'm a jerk.
And besides, he's got a 3rd scoop now. A story that's even bigger than the other 2.
Yes, eh?
Hey, what do you mean, Mr. Kent?
What is it, Clark?
He helped capture Abner Quinn, the man who almost wrecked the subway and sewer system the other night, and who's had the police running in circles trying to find him.
That's right.
Don't you call that a scoop? Especially when Superman was involved, too.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay, I know when I'm licked. Go out and write the story, Jim.
You mean I'm not fired?
Well, not this time. But the next time you start talking about genie...
Oh, there won't be any next time. Believe me, I've learned my lesson. No more superstitions.
Well, there better not be. Now, get out to your typewriter, you ninny.
Yes, sir, Chief. I'm on my way.
And take that confounded genie with you.
And so, laughing in hilarious relief, our friends see another exciting Superman adventure come to a happy close. But unknown to them, a new and even more amazing adventure is looming for Superman and his friends. It has thrill, suspense, mystery, and you'll hear the first exciting chapter on Monday. So be sure to tune in again Monday, same time, same station, for more of the adventures of Superman. Superman is a transcribed, copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC Comics magazine and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time. Watch for the Superman Adventure serial, soon to be shown at your local movie theater.